I have a history of playing this game and its sequel as a teenager, even though they came out over 20 years before my voice properly dropped. Mind you, this wasn't my first contact with the franchise. A few years prior, Xcom Unknown had come out, and I played it on the 360. Even though I never completed it on the platform, I enjoyed the game enough so that, when I discovered it was a remake and the previous games were dirt cheap, I wanted to give it a try. If you knew this game as UFO Unknown back in the day, you didn't suffer a Mandela effect. You're just European, or had an European copy of the game. Nowadays, most people who play the game use OpenXcom, and you should too. Some people call it a mod, but OpenXcom is actually an open source clone written with C++. It aims to fix many of the issues present in the game without changing the way it's supposed to play or make you feel. It plays natively, locks the game speed to something normal, and you don't have to worry about proximity grenades not working properly. Not only that, but it's all fully documented, so people have been able to port it to Android and even the Vita. While OpenXcom itself is not a mod, it is highly moddable, and people have created quality of life mods and full overhauls for it. The vanilla download has a few extra options if you want to make the game easier, harder, or just more visually accessible. Set in the near future of 1999, alien sightings and encounters have been happening for a year now, becoming more violent. Although the nations tried dealing with them internally, they haven't been successful. In secret, a few of them gathered to create a global response to the perceived alien threat, and so Xcom is born. It was all very hush-hush, so initial resources and infrastructure are minimal, and expectations are sky-high. Good luck. For most of the game, you have a sense of urgency and desperation. Even when things are calm, you keep on wondering what the aliens are up to. They are always doing something. You just can't see it sometimes. When you do get a blip on your radars, that's it. They are colorful points moving on a map. You don't know what they're doing, but you know that they need their shit beat up. During missions, your field of view is limited. Every blind corner and door is a possible sectoid waiting to shoot your soldiers. If you get the stupid idea to try a nighttime terror mission, you'll understand the meaning of terror. Night missions are a challenge because while your operatives have limited line of sight, the aliens don't. They see just as well at night as during the day. The feeling of being watched from any dark spot in the night does create a sense of dread. For the most part, XCOM is about managing your resources and bases, and taking direct control of your soldiers during combat. For an easier time learning this game, I recommend the player handbook. If you're confused about any of the UI elements, the answer to what it does is most likely there. If you don't have a VGA system, you're screwed. Most of the symbols are intuitive enough, but there are exceptions. You might want to take a look at the manual for an explanation of mechanics as well, just so you don't go in completely blind. YouTube doesn't lack video guides for this game, so your undiagnosed ADHD isn't an excuse to not learn it. The geoscape is where you pass half of your time in this game, if not more. As soon as you start a new game, the first decision you make will be where to put your first base. This most likely is where you will house the bulk of your forces and your strongest aircrafts to be deployed into missions. So you wanna pick a place with nice land coverage. If you wanna have a hard time, pick Alaska. After this, the clock will start ticking. You have to choose what to build on each base and where to build. Believe it or not, there's a wrong way to set your rooms. Eventually your bases will get invaded. You need to consider where the aliens will come from when that happens. The first base comes pre-made for you, and it's a great example of what not to do. The access lift has too many areas where the aliens can enter, so your soldiers will be more spread out than they should. For any other base you make, it's recommended to put any hangar on the top or bottom squares, connected with the lift to the rest of the base. These other bases can work as radars for any alien activity outside the initial base's range. If you want to save the world, you'll need to cover the most landmass possible. With radar coverage done, these bases can now specialize into whatever utility you need from them. A supply depot, R&D to manufacture sellable items, training centers for your soldiers, etc. You start the game outclassed and outgunned by the aliens, so research is how you catch up to them. To upgrade XCOM's equipment, you need to hire in-house scientists in your bases. To acquire new research options, you need to acquire alien artifacts and prisoners from missions. Then, assign a number of scientists to it. Most people don't realize, but you can research more than one technology at a time if you want. Just remember that the aliens don't wait for you. Engineers are the lifeblood of your manufacturing lines. They make most of the items acquired from research, including weapons and aircrafts. The funds given by the Council are not enough, and they will dry up more and more each time a Grey abducts a cow in Brazil. You need to create a factory base as soon as possible to manufacture goods with the full intent of selling them. China may not want to give money to the XCOM project, but they'll gladly pay you to buy your exclusive heavy lasers. When a moving alien ship is detected, you can send interceptors to put it down. You can't directly control your ship, you can only tell it to stay farther or nearer its target, changing their fire rate and how much they try to avoid enemy projectiles. The closer you are, the harder it is for the UFO to escape. And that goes for your interceptor too. You can send multiple ships chasing one target. They'll have an easier time taking their foe down, and the enemy will have to split their fire. It's a good idea to try and fight away from water, since you can only recover their debris when the UFO falls on land. Sometimes a UFO will land, either during a chase or in its initial detection. That's when you can send a ground assault to kill and capture anything inside it. Landed ships have a higher number of enemies than downed ones, so you need to account for that. And sometimes you may arrive at a crash site only to find all alien crew is dead. Combat starts in the setup for your soldiers. You need to choose what to bring into a mission, trying to cover any potential enemies and situations that might appear, depending on many known and unknown factors. If you want to bring a couple of rocket launchers, you have to account for the weight it's going to add to the ship. Soldiers have randomized stats to them, and the more they survive missions, the more their stats improve. Do your low-level soldiers even have enough strength to carry that rocket launcher you brought? Can they bring another rocket to reload after missing a cyber disk? I hope you haven't forgotten to bring ammo for all your weapons. The first thing you need to realize with combat is that your soldiers are expendable. While the remake gives you 6 soldiers at maximum per mission, you can get 26 soldiers in the field at once here. You have to consider that, just like equipment, soldiers also add weight to the ship. So don't think you can show up to a terror mission with 26 rocketeers and just level whatever city you're in. If a soldier dies and drops his equipment, you have to consider that not winning this mission might lead you to lose thousands of dollars in R&D. It's less about using whatever is the best and more about considering risk versus reward. If you're naming your soldiers after people from around the office, I guess Greg will have to accept being mauled by that Reaper. The Battlescape, as it's called, is where combat will happen. There are a few alien species to fight, and they bring sub-straws into their missions. While you may find floaters and Reapers together, you won't be seeing a sectoid and a mutant in the same mission. They don't mingle. When you see your first alien, you have all the information on what could possibly be on this mission. Your soldiers spend time units to do everything in a mission, from changing their orientation to priming and throwing a grenade. They're a synonym for action points. While their stats affect how many points they need for an action, you can have a rough estimate based on your experience with the game. If you want to throw a grenade, you better make sure your soldier has enough action points to not just prime the grenade and stand there holding it. Grenades won't explode while in your inventory, but you just need an unlucky shot to have that soldier fall down and kill any nearby friendlies. While soldiers are expendable, they are not robots. If you saw your colleague's ribcage exposed after an unknown alien projectile hit their chest, you would panic too. They can lose all time units for the turn, run away, or blindly shoot at a random direction and panic. If you're lucky, the rest of your soldiers won't be caught in a crossfire. It's easy for morale to cascade down due to bad decision making on your part. That's the thing though, it always feels like it's your fault. UFO Defense shows you your chances to hit an alien, but you probably don't realize it until after a while, unlike its successor, so the RNG feels less unfair. The game still has an element of randomness to it, but it doesn't put it on the foreground as much. You can shoot that floater, but what if you miss your rifle shot? Or it survives the one hit and fires back? You have a grenade you can use, so is it better to use it now or save it for any tankier enemy that may be hidden? If you packed more grenades before this mission, this wouldn't be a problem. Sometimes, a loss was decided by a choice you made hours before. Of course, you can save Xcom your way through the game, have a perfect alien invasion and steamroll through the aliens to their home base. But the fun in XCOM is in creating your own stories, by surviving less than ideal conditions. Sometimes a grenade takes out a third of your ground forces, so now you have fewer meat shields to chip at that sectopod. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. The music does an amazing job of adding to the atmosphere of the game. The aliens are mysterious foes, enigmatic in their movements around the Earth, so all the tingling from the soundtrack fits into that really well. When you land on a farm filled with big-eyed sectoids staring at you from the dark, your soldiers are most likely terrified of getting their ankles bitten or their heads mind-controlled. Mixed in with the music, you hear many sound effects during combat. Civilians and soldiers screaming, the clinging of metal joints moving, alien roars and hisses. The battlefield is a chaotic place, and listening to these may give some clues on how many aliens there are and what you may be dealing with. The interface outside of combat is really neat. It has a great looking font that's easy to read without being an eye strain, and the sounds it makes are iconic. It's not rare to be watching a non-gaming video or TV program and hear a sound you recognize from XCOM's menus. In the battlescape, while readable enough for the most part, it feels bloated. It's not horrible, but it feels like too much screen space is being taken. One bad thing about the game now is how the low resolution blurs all the pixel art. If you're using OpenXcom, it's more manageable. Otherwise, you better get used to having migraines after squinting so much at what you believe to be floaters and being frustrated with how zoomed in battles are. It feels like this game would look amazing in a CRT, but I don't have one of those right now. This was one of the first games in its genre, and it is still one of the MVPs. Even with all the clunks of it being an old DOS game, you can have an amazing time if you're willing to learn what makes this game tick. Any problems you may have with it running are easily fixable, and you can't change anything that bothers you with the game thanks to all the love fans have put towards it over the years. This is an easy recommendation. Thank you for watching. If you have any game that you think would make a good review, please leave it in the comments. I have a pretty big list of games I want to take a look at, but I'm always up to learning about more.